Wait! Wait. Hold up. We're definitely not covering this game. Really? Oh my god. Now, when I said that we're not covering this game, I didn't mean we're not going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. So I got into the beta. I tried recording some footage and actually uploading just no commentary footage, something I've been doing, the last couple of months pretty often. But what ended up happening is this was just the first days when I got my capture card. So unfortunately, a lot of it was, well, a lot of the footage just didn't have audio, and I had some weird screen tearing as well. But I don't have that problem anymore. But I still want to talk about Wildstar, okay? It's not my type of game. Let's just start from there. I definitely tried it out. It's so hard to compare it with Guild Wars because they're two incredibly different types of MMOs. Obviously, they're not even pretending. They're definitely targeting a very different audience. But there's something about the game that just didn't work for me. It had a lot of cool things about it. But it was missing. It was missing something pretty significant to me, which was, I think immersion. That's probably the word to say it. And in games nowadays, especially a lot of MMOs, kind of lack that. Guild Wars, don't get me wrong, is not an exception in any way. Guild Wars has the same problem. A lot of it nowadays with MMOs, when it comes, you'd think that they flesh out UI, and they kind of do. They have like less skills and stuff on your skill bar and on your quest logs and all that. They've simplified all that, but the games themselves have turned into a lot of UI in the sense that this is more specifically towards Guild Wars. Wildstar, it has that problem as well, I think. But it's still not. It's in beta. It hasn't even come out. They're gonna change the UI. But there's something about the immersion that just didn't feel right about Wildstar. It kind of felt like, I understand that it has that light tone. It's not taking itself seriously. When you level up, it's like, holy shit, you leveled up. There's all that stuff. But it's I don't know if it works. I mean, for some people, sure, maybe it does. It's not my type of thing. I kind of like to, not play a meta game. When I say meta game, I mean a game that looks through to itself in a meta way. What that means is it doesn't look at itself, as you are playing in the game. It's seeing you as you are a player playing the game. If you get what I mean. It's a little confusing, but I didn't like that. But there are a lot of other things. Just the movement. The art style is cool. I like it, but the design of the models, they just all feel so skinny and flanky. And don't get me wrong, the combat feels really solid and grounded. It doesn't feel floaty like in ESO, but there's something weird about it. My character's sort of jiggling in a weird way. There's just things that didn't work for me. But overall, I think this game is gonna appeal to a lot of people. I think a lot of people are really gonna enjoy it, and it's gonna be great. But it's definitely not something I'm gonna be covering. I don't see even in the future if they do anything. It's just the general feel of the game. If the general feel of the game doesn't appeal to you, then I don't think that no matter how many expansions and updates they push out in this game, it's just not gonna ever. It's always gonna have that problem of just not feeling right for you, and that's what I have, in this case. To me, it didn't feel like it was doing anything that major and huge. I tried the telegraph system, something I was really shaky about. I didn't think it would feel that cool, but it actually does work really well. It's something you need to play in order to be able to see. It's very hard to show it. In this video, you see me using it, and some of you are like, I don't know how I feel about this. It's all ground targeting. Yes, it is. A lot of it is ground targeting. It kind of gets rid of that feeling that if there's something floating up in the air, you could shoot it like you could in other MMOs back in the day. Your character just sort of looks up and put his weapon, kind of elevates it. Here it's all ground targeting, but you can jump and still use a telegraph, so it kind of makes it look like you're shooting up. You can shoot in the air, wave your sword in the air. You can do all that. There's a lot of freedom of movement. The combat is great, but the PvP, especially from what I've been seeing over time, it doesn't look that great. So combat can be great, but PvP not necessarily. There are just a lot of other things that go into PvP than just the combat mechanics. Combat mechanics are pretty good, I think, in the game. But ever since I've been observing it, you know, since the first footage of the game, they haven't done anything with the PvP major that's changing in like a very good way. You know, they have a lot of good features. You know, they have the war plots, and they have so much stuff. Like, they have a lot of PvP content, but it's not like, it's PvP is like a lot of arena-based stuff and battlegrounds, a lot of the stuff that, you know, kind of World of Warcraft introduced. But that's not the type of PvP I'm looking for. A game that I will be covering, I'm actually right now downloading this game, it's Archeage. I'm going to be trying out the alpha. That's a game that I like, because sometimes the combat doesn't matter so much. But I think that it's the general feel of the PvP, you know, the actual tension. People like me who like to get immersed in games especially, that's definitely, you know, what I'm looking for. Not so, combat could be, you know, a little clunky. DayZ has really clunky combat and movement. That doesn't mean that the game itself is terrible. There are a lot of other things that make up for it. But as I was, you know, doing this stuff, I was looking through some old footage I had recorded from a couple months ago when I was playing World of Warcraft. This is when I got the trial account, and I was, well, this is not the trial account, this is the actual, this is after. So I played the trial a little bit, and I have some footage from that I'm probably never going to use, but I also have some footage from the first days that I actually got the game. This is a monk, and this is Karazhan actually. This was a place that was added back in Vanilla WoW, and it was never opened. It was supposed to be something like an underground Karazhan, and you know, and even if you read the lore, Karazhan is said to have something like an opposite. You know, it's a big tower. For those of you that don't know World of Warcraft, it's a huge tower where Medivh, the character in Warcraft 3, a pretty important character, he was the guy that opened the Dark Portal and had the orcs come in. He's basically kind of the main reason we have all these conflicts. But he resided in that tower, and that's where also Sargeras, the main antagonist of the franchise, he kind of went inside of him and took his control of his mind, and yeah, Medivh went crazy, and he was, on one side he had sort of this friendly scholar side, which was the Karazhan, the Tower of Karazhan. It has a lot of, you know, books and big open areas and stuff like that. And then there was apparently, he also tortured people, and, you know, had like an underground area where he would have the Sargeras. So that was a really cool thing back then, you know, if you sort of looked around in the lore. But they never had an underground Karazhan, but they had the crypts of Karazhan, which is thought to be something that was never added to the game actually. Apparently they also closed it off, so you can only get in here with through map breaking. You just break out of the map. That's what we did here. This is actually the first room that you can get into when you break out of the map. If you want to look up some video on how to do it, I'm not going to explain to you here. This friend of mine did it. He was basically mounting and dismounting and disconnecting. But they constantly fix this thing. They apparently like the Blizz team keeps trying to not, you know, get people to stop trying to, you know, make it harder for people to get into this place. But it's clearly not worked for 10 years now, so I don't think anything is really going to stop people from coming into Karazhan. But you see some like really cool sound effects of doors that were never used back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade. And a lot of the stuff that when you go over like a door, it's all code. You know, it's like this really cool like developer zone. That's kind of what it looks like. Back in the day, there was this myth of I think it was called the Dev Island, which was supposed to be this really cool place where the devs would hang out, or GM Island. I'm not sure what they call it, but it was this place where all this stuff, you know, supposedly was going to be the textures and stuff that was never used in the game on this island somewhere, GM Island. But that was apparently a myth. There isn't an actual GM Island. But this place is completely real. You can go in, and there's also this room that was said to be the one thing that they removed it. They made it inaccessible because apparently that's what they say. I don't believe that this one thing would, you know, have that much of an effect. But there's this room called the Room of Upside Down Sinners, and I'm gonna get into that exactly. Why I'm talking about all this stuff? Why I'm all of a sudden talking about World of Warcraft? I'm just talking about Wildstar. You know, why am I doing this? I'll get to that. Don't worry. But there's this room called the Upside Down Sinners, and back in Vanilla, people could, you know, broke into this place and they saw this, and it's this really cool. It's kind of creepy. It's really scary. You know, it's this room with these men and women, you know, hung upside down in a big pool of water. You know, you jump in through here where you see right now this huge bone, this pile of bones. And back in vanilla, there was no other area in the game that had, you know, so many bones in one place. You know, not even in Strathalholm or any of those places. So this was all so cool, so new. You know, it's now they've done so many new impressive things. You know, the new textures that they've added. You know, the new dungeon designs and all that. But this was really impressive back in the day. And you go into this room. This is the entrance, actually. And it's a really, really creepy room. But here's why I'm talking about all this. It's this sense of adventure and sort of exploration, especially for someone like me back then, who was relatively new to MMOs and even, I'd say, gaming. You know, not gaming, but PC gaming, definitely. But this was a sense of adventure, you know. It's like the devs don't want you to see this stuff, almost as if, and you got to see it anyways. And Guild Wars has some of this stuff. They do have a lot of like cool Easter eggs for people who actually are able to break out of the map. One of the devs actually puts these like really cool coins with his signature on places, you know, that sort of as like a little token when someone breaks out of the map. But it's really cool to have this because there was no achievement, there was no like reward for this. The experience itself was the reward. And now games, what they do is, you know, they have all these like achievement points and stuff. It just almost feels so forced. Especially with MMOs, you know, it just doesn't feel natural anymore. And one of the reasons people now are jumping to games like DayZ and, you know, a lot of the mods and you know, stuff for Arma is because they're very like raw. They're very natural in a way. They're not finished, but they're also very, very simple. They're down to the basics, but at the same time they have this layer of complexity. And it's the same thing with Minecraft. People have been jumping to Minecraft. You know, that's the reason why I was probably, you know, so successful. You know, a lot of indie games, not just those games, but so many other games. I recently even played Faster Than Light, which has this really cool nostalgic feeling. If any of you here have played Space Rangers, which I'd probably do a video on because it was it's probably one of my all-time favorites. But it has, Faster Than Light has the feeling of Space Rangers, you know, the sense of randomness and, you know, what's gonna happen. You know, it gets so addicting because you just want to play a little bit more to see, you know, okay, it's so easy to die. That game is incredibly hard, but when you die, you're like, okay, I want to play again. They're very short games. That's what the cool thing is. Very short, cool little adventures. But it feels so random that it actually feels really natural. Every adventure is very different. And it's a really cool blend of genres as well, the whole turn-based thing, and at the same time, there is some real-time, you know, action. You know, you can pause the game. It's not exactly turn-based. It's really cool. It gives a sense that it's actually lively. It's not just like, you know, Pokemon or something like that. There's a lot of, you know, there is some speed, and sometimes things move too fast, and you need to pause the game over and over again. But sometimes you get so caught up you forget to pause. It's really cool. And now I'm showing Warframe. Why am I showing Warframe? Because Warframe is such a cool blend. It's of genres. It's such a hard game to describe. I was recently having an argument with my friend Vodalicious about, you know, what type of genre is it. He was like, oh, it's a simple shooter like, you know, Call of Duty, and you just put some, you know, mods that are basically like the layouts or whatever they call it in COD. Ooh, that's my phone. This is like probably the second time that my phone goes off during a video. But he was saying that it's kind of like COD with the, what are they called, you know, traits? I don't remember what it was called, but in COD when you can equip like certain passive skills and stuff like that. And it's not, like, it has so much more of an effect. Every mod in a way is kind of like an item, and you have to grind them and level them up. And there's a lot of more stuff, not just the mod, there's so much other stuff going on in builds. I try to describe it as an action RPG, and he said, oh no, definitely, it's not an RPG. It has a lot of elements of an action RPG though. And I've seen actually a lot of people in the game that played Diablo, you know, they played Torchlight, and they say, you know, this reminds me a lot of those games, but in a very fresh, new, you know, way. And that's what makes this game cool. It's so hard to describe, and it's kept my attention for a very long time now, because it's one of the few games, dare I say, that's one of those, you know, founder free-to-play games with the whole founder programs that, you know, they make you buy like $100 packages from 10 to 100 anywhere in that. And, you know, obviously everyone is like, oh, I'm gonna play this game so much, I want to get the most expensive package, and then they buy it and the game doesn't do anything. I'm talking to you, Firefall. Firefall, such a great game, so much potential, and that game's taking forever to actually develop. It's a shame, really, because a huge studio like that should not be taking that much time to implement like small changes. The game really hasn't changed that much. It still doesn't have any not even end game content, just content that's not boring. The only thing is thumping right now, and they keep adding little content. Their philosophy is that when they add little changes, you know, that way they can better implement stuff. But it's too slow. I mean, I understand that, but it's too damn slow. And with Warframe, it's one of the few games that has actually succeeded. This game pumps out content like crazy. I mean, they just changed the game with a recent update, the whole melee system, and that's not even like, it's not what the biggest thing in my opinion. They changed the melee, but they added, first of all, so many mods. They added also this new thing called the Spectres. They all added solar rails, that basically add politics to the game, so clans can now actually have control over the certain parts of the solar system, and other clans can challenge them. They can impose taxes on other players when they play on their solar rail. They're basically, it's like they create a little railway that connects them to a special dungeon. And the thing I'm doing right now is actually like that. It looks like a regular mission. It's just controlled by another clan or alliance. And they get some credit and tax to you for stuff, resources, whether it is, or money. And that's really, really cool. And if people don't like it, they're like, okay, let's get our clan or alliance together and let's challenge these guys. We don't want to pay these taxes. And that's so cool, because this game's not even an MMO. I mean, it has more MMO elements than, dare I say, Guild Wars in all a sense, because you're actually affecting the world. Yeah, in Guild Wars you do, supposedly. It's really the devs that are implementing all the content. You're just playing it. You know, World versus World is really cool. You make a change there, but all those changes get reset at the end of the week because you get a new matchup with a new server. And you know, that's probably the closest you get. And maybe the auction house, you know, with inflation and all that stuff. But, you know, so many games have that. Even World of Warcraft, which has had enormous inflation, guys. I went back. Apparently now, like 1,000 gold is like nothing in that game. It's ridiculous. Back then it was so much money. But, you know, this game is not even an MMO. And the way that I look at it, they kind of did this thing that right now, Star Citizen, right? Yeah, Star Citizen is kind of hyping about. That it's going to be like a single-player game, but it's also going to have this huge MMO element. And you can play it both single-player and, you know, multiplayer, and it's going to be so good. You know, this game's already done it, never even hyped that. You can technically play Warframe in single player. You don't need a good connection. The only thing you need is to launch up the launcher, and then you can just play completely single player. Kind of like Diablo, in a way, but maybe even better, because Battle.net disconnects you so many times. I've noticed Battle.net is always under maintenance, or there's something going on. This game doesn't have any of that. You just go in. Then you can go into offline mode and you can play it. I'm pretty also sure that even there have been times where my internet broke off, like right as the launcher, you know, loaded up, just because I had bad internet. Like I was either at a hotel or something, and then I didn't even, you know, the game just kept on moving. You know, it says, oops, whatever port is not working, you won't be able to play in multiplayer, and then you just play single player, and it's really cool. And you can do so many things in this game. You can craft, you can... It's really a sandbox in a huge way. Players have a huge effect on the way the game is developed. You know, you create Warframe. Now there's going to be like a weapon that's being created by the players as well. But just the way that we vote on content, names of content, further on, you know, the clan dojos, you build those, you make those. Obviously the railways and control over the system. The solar system. There's so much stuff. And this game doesn't even hype that. That's not even like, I don't think that's the big hype of this game. It's kind of weird. They don't hype it enough, I feel like. They have so many great features and they don't really hype it all that much. I think they focus too much maybe on like the new Warframes and the new weapons they add to the game than really the really cool features of it. And they recently did, you know, like a video about solar rails and all that. But I feel like that type of stuff should be what they're hyping here. It's like an EVE Online in a way, but you know, not really. It's more like a Star Citizen, but Star Citizen is really overhyped right now. It's not definitely a game that I'm going to be checking out. I'm not checking it out. I'm sorry. I know some of you want to see it. There's so many other big channels that are doing this. I'm a tiny channel. It doesn't even matter if I don't do it. But you know, you can expect definitely some Warframe gameplay in the future. But my point of all this was kind of a continuation of the first MMO talk that, you know, there is right now so much trash out there on the market. You know, so many bad games that just don't live up, not to the hype, not just the hype, to expectations. Like, normal expectations, totally reasonable expectations. I completely understand some of you guys out there. You just want a good game. You want a game that keeps your attention. It's hard because nowadays, unless a game gets constant updates, people think, "Oh, is this game dead?" I saw that, you know, for a time in Guild Wars, because, you know, oh, this game is not receiving 2 week updates every 2 weeks. Oh, it must be dying. It's like, no, this is totally normal. But you know, regardless, I think that there is still a lot of potential out there. I don't think that potential is solely in MMOs anymore. I think that MMOs, the days of MMOs, the traditional way that we used to see them, are maybe over. We'll see with Archeage. I think Archeage is a little bit, you know, bringing people back into the classics. And yeah, I do have pretty high hopes for that game. I'm going to be checking out. I really do hope that I really do hope that it's actually as good as, you know, people have already been hyping it. But you know, with social medias nowadays, it's so easy for people to misunderstand what a game is really about, and that's really unfortunate, because it's, again, expectations, inaccurate expectations. And I don't blame anyone really that uses Twitter or any of that. I don't blame them. I blame the people that are actually behind the game and they hype it up, and then, you know, they say this game is gonna be amazing, you know, this game is gonna have so many features, and then they release something and it's like not that big of a deal. Reaper of Souls should have been a free expansion. Come on, it's Reaper of Souls for Diablo 3. That should have totally been something that was, most of the stuff they added in that game should have been there from launch. So basically, they made players pay for something that should have been in the original Diablo 3. And obviously, I don't know, so many people have said this already, but I'm gonna say it again. PvP, where is it? There is no PvP. But you know, these are the games that I'm gonna be, you know, definitely, well, not Wildstar. I'm not checking out Wildstar. I'm gonna be going back to some WoW to check out Warlords of Draenor. I don't have any specific expectations, again, because I don't think it's a good idea when it comes to games like this. But Warframe is definitely something that I wanted to let people know that that's really a game that I log into daily, at least to get my daily reward. But also Guild Wars, you know, I'm going to be covering, I haven't played that much, but I'm going to be covering it in the weeks coming when they start releasing some news about the next season for Living Story. And what else? You know, a lot of indies, that's what I've been playing, a lot of cool little indies. Prison Architect, you know, I've been going into Daisy Standalone, been a lot on Twitch, speaking of which, I have been testing my live stream lately, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to start live streaming soon. I will start putting out messages for the few people that watch me, you know, when I'm live on Twitch. But yeah, for now, guys, that's it, basically. Thanks if you actually made it through this whole video. That really doesn't mean a lot to me, that I'm actually not just blabbering, but people actually do watch me. So yeah, thank you guys. See you next time.